Greetings everyone, welcome to Chess Advanced. And this game with the white pieces we have Gukesh, and with the black pieces we have world number two, which is Hikaru Nakamura. So a match between the world chess champion, current reigning world chess champion, and the world number two is absolutely going to be insane. And this is from the Norway Chess 2025, and I'm sure you're gonna love this match because it's an insane match. Gukesh played spectacularly in this tournament, and you're gonna see why. Because in this position, so let's just start this without further ado. And e4 by Gukesh. We have e5 by Hikaru, knight to f3, knight to c6, and bishop to c4. Going for the Italian game by Gukesh, knight to f6, and just d3. And we have bishop to e7, castles, rook to e1, and here just d6. Just going for the standard structure, no, nothing too insane. But here, just a very nice a4 by Gukesh. And we have knight to a5, but here just bishop to a2. I mean, I think like just a few years ago people used to play lines like c3, maybe for a standard push and just get the knights out of the way, with the inclusion of I think alpha zero around 2018 to 2020. People have started playing this a4 line. I think it's absolutely spectacular how chess has changed over the years. And we have c5, bishop to d2, but here just knight to c6. We have knight to a3 and h6, but just going for the c3 move as we normally do. Bishop to e6, but here just bishop captures, f captures, and just b4, and here just b6. We have knight to c4, and here in this position you have to be a little bit careful. Can you go c captures? The answer is yes, but after c captures, and a5. Now you have to understand that any sensible person would go b5, and you're gonna have to play knight to b4, and that comes with an attack on this pawn, so that's a weak pawn. So you're gonna have to protect it. So bishop to e3, just moving the bishop out of the way, protecting it with the queen. But now here knight to d7, and you have to understand that this pawn was attacked twice, so you have to defend it. But here just queen to e2, but now comes here queen to c7, rook a c1, just aligning the rook very nicely with the queen. Now there could be some discoveries, and here queen to b7, but now just rook to f1, rook to f7, and here after rook to b1, just just putting some pressure. And we have king to h7, king to h1, and here after rook a to f8. And now there's a lot of pressure along this file, but here just rook b to c1, we'll have king to g8. And this game most likely will end in, because it's just very much difficult to make any progress here. No one wants to push this because you are getting rid of your backwards pawn, but you also have to understand white is also getting rid of their double pawns. And after that, they'll be able to push this, and once that comes in with the inclusion of this here, it's going to be very much difficult to hold. So you don't want to create unnecessary weaknesses to trying to push for the win. But here knight to c4, after knight to c4, queen to e8 was played, and now here just b5. Well, you allowed it, so Gukesh just pushed it himself, and we have knight to d8 by Hikaru, but just d4. And we have e captures, c captures, c captures, and just bishop to b4. Now putting very nice pressure on that d6 pawn, but here just knight captures on e4, just grabbing that pawn and saying, well, if you capture with the rook, I'm just pushing that. So Gukesh was like, well, bring it on. The rook captures and just d5. Now you're gonna lose one of them, but since since Hikaru sacrificed the knight for it, so the material is all obviously easy. And here bishop caps on e7, queen captures, rook caps on d4, and d captures. And you could immediately capture, but it's always better to go for a move like rook to c1, because first you want to capture that with the rook, with the development of the rook on that file. It would be much better, because here after queen to f6, now you go for this rook captures, knight to b7, rook to c6, just trying to put some pressure on that pawn as well. It's a weak pawn, so that is going to be targeted for the rest of the game. Rook a d8, but here just going for h4, trying to create some breathing room for the king. And here rook captures on d4, queen captures, but here just going for knight to a5, not going for immediately trading. But here after rook to c7, now you're going to have to queen captures, knight captures, and here just knight rook to f7, asking for rook trade. But just after this captures, you get this endgame, which is absolutely a draw. So all of this lines ends in a draw. But here after d captures, knight to e5 was played immediately by Gukesh, and now here queen to g5, just immediately going for some sort of an attack. But it's just difficult because you're also attacking the knight. That's understandable, but you have to understand, now comes knight captures on c4, just grabbing that pawn, knight to b7, and trying to get that knight to there. And we have queen to e2, we have knight to c5, rook a d1, rook to f4, and here just going for this a5. And here after b captures, knight captures, and just rook captures on d4, rook captures. Here Hikaru is asking for a lot of trades, but you have to understand that, is the trades gonna help him, or is trades gonna help actually Gukesh? Because here just rook captures, queen captures, and now how do you make progress? Well, Gukesh shows you how. He goes for this knight to c6, and that knight is a very powerful piece. And as long as you're not attacking that pawn, it's gonna remain there for a while. Also attacking that very nice a7 pawn. Here queen to d7, just defending, but here just h4. And the best move in this position is just to go for this knight to a4. Just try and get the knight there, so and maybe just reroute it to a better square, and try and some attack. Here queen to e5, knight to b6, and once the knight jumps back to try and attack this pawn, you just play this king to f7, just defending. And here knight to c6, most likely you just go back, and most likely it's like, just to show you, most likely that this is going to be a threefold repetition. So but here, instead of going for all of this, here after h4 we have queen to d6, which just unfortunately for Hikaru completely blunders the game. And I'm going to ask you to pause the video, try and find out the only move that wins in this position. So congratulations, who's paying attention, because this is as simple as it gets, because you've just given me a free pawn here. Knight caps on a7, and there is nothing that you could do. Now it's a pass pawn, and pass pawns must be pushed. Knight to d3, but here just knight to c6. We have king to h8, but here just queen to f3, king to g8 and g3. I don't know why Hikaru thought like giving that up would be would be a good idea, or maybe he thought that it was still a draw. I don't think anyone can ever think that that's a draw, because you just create an easy pass pawn for me, and there is nothing you could do. And this cannot even be a mouse slip, because this was played over the board. So here knight to c5, but now this comes king to g2, and we have queen to d7, but here just queen to f4, and we have queen to d5 check. We have king to h2, king to h7, queen to f7, and here just going for knight to d3, trying to create some chances here, but it's going to be very much difficult. Knight to e7, queen to d8, but all of this is going to be very much difficult, so you have to cover those squares. So here queen caps on e6, grabbing another pawn, but here knight caps on f2, grabbing that pawn, queen to f5 check, king to h8, and knight to g6, and here king to h7, knight to e5, king to g8, and here you could be satisfied with just capturing here, but for some reason Gukesh goes for. And it was on this move, on just move 42, that Hikaru Nakamura resigned the game, and Gukesh, current reigning world champion, got this spectacular victory and won in just 42 moves against world number 2. Is absolutely insane. Why he resigned? Because there's nothing to do. And now your king is in check, so once it moves, now you get knight to g6. And once the king moves further, you get knight to e5 check. Once the king moves, now you got the knight out of the way. You can just grab that piece, and you're a complete piece up. You have a pass pawn. It's completely over. So yeah, thank you all for watching. I'll be coming back with games like these, so stay tuned to the channel, subscribe to the channel. I'll be seeing you guys very soon with some amazing games. So yeah, thank you all.